Hi guys, welcome back to a new video. Today we are going to be doing something a bit different. Today we are going to be looking at the top 6 American steam engines. Yes, 6. Not 5, not 10, not 15, 6. Found 6 American steam locomotives that I am extinct American steam locomotives that I am pretty interested in it. So let's get into the video. Right, so here we are, into the video. Starting with our first locomotives. Yes, I said locomotives. The PRR J1s and C&O T1s. Wait, this is 2 classes. I thought these fit together well because one led to the development of the other. So let's get in. In the early 1930s, the Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad wanted an engine for freight duties. They turned to the new Advisory Mechanical Committee, otherwise known as the AMC Eagle. Sorry about that. Chesapeake and Ohio tested the Erie's 284s. Then decided to add an extra set of drive wheels. The T1s arrived to the Chesapeake to the C&O from the Lima Locomotive Works on the class numbered 40 built. In service, they were good for hauling heavy coal drags between Russell, Kentucky and Toledo. I hope I said that right. Toledo thingy, Ohio. Then, in the 40s, the PRR Railroad, the Pennsylvania Railroad, was looking for a locomotive for freight on their railroad. Because this was around the time of World War II, they couldn't build a locomotive from the rails up. They tested a Norfolk and Western Class A and a C&O T1. The T1 ended up being the better performer, so the PRR based their J1s off of them. 125 J1s were made just for freight service. Not actually sure if some were modified for passenger service. Both classes started disappearing by the end of the steam era. The T1 started first, with the J1s going 3 years after. Now let's see which locomotive is after this. On the number 2. Yes, I'm doing this backwards, from number 1 to 6. Number 3. Number 2. The Erie and Virginian triplex locomotives. Wow! What is that? Okay, let's see the history behind these things. All the way back in the 19-teens, articulated steam engines were starting to make an impact on American railroading. The Erie and Virginia railroads both stretched their minds a bit about making a big and scaly locomotive for freight service, up steep grades. In 1914, the Erie purchased the very first 2888 triplex locomotive. They were built from Baldwin, or it was built by Baldwin, and it was numbered 5014 and nicknamed the Matt H. Shea. It was a complete monster, and it had a 210 psi boiler and 106 and 3 sets of 8 drive wheels and tractive effort of 160 pounds. It didn't perform well, though. The firebox had an area of 90 feet, or meters, something meters. It just ran out of steam on Gulf Summit grade, and trains would have to stop from behind. But the Matt H. Shea was rebuilt. It now had a firebox with an area of 120 feet of grade area. But the MAT HE had another bad issue. The rear set of drive wheels was prone to slipping because the water and coal was being used up from the tender. The Erie later ordered 2 additional triplexes, while the Virginian only ordered one 2884. They were later deemed unsuccessful and they were all scrapped. The Virginian engine, though, was cut into 2 different locomotives, and that was the end of the triplex. And here's a picture of the Virginian engine in case you wanted to see it. Now let's move on to the number 3 spot. New Haven I-5 class. When you see this, you might be thinking of 3801, the famous Australian excursion star. But no, we'll get to that in a bit. These beautiful, absolutely amazing looking streamlined Hudsons were built by Baldwin, again, in 1937. They became famous for hauling the railroad's express passenger trains like the Merchants Limited and the Yankee Clipper. Yankee with no brimp, sorry. Just 10 were built for the New Haven. But crews and, of course, passengers loved the I-5s for their speed and their style. Sadly, however, their time in service didn't last very long because the New Haven began to purchase diesel locomotives after World War II. All of these beautiful Hudsons were retired and sent off to the scrapyard in 1951. But the famous Australian locomotive, number 3801, is still in operational conditions. So yeah, at least you could say that. At the number 4 spot, we have the Pennsylvania T1 prototypes. Yes, just the prototypes. T1 duplex won't be extinct for much longer because of the T1 Trust. The protos, though, what's being done for them? 6110 and 6111 were built by Baldwin, again, I guess, in 1941. These protos were fitted with Franklin Poppet valve gear, which were very finicky. They were poorly assembled and were even made from bad materials, apparently, as well. These two were still better than the 5500s, though. The advantage of the prototypes was that they were built with proper spring equalization. This meant there was no adhesion problems, which caused mad wheel slip. There were still maintenance nightmares, but they did perform very good in service. They were right at home, hauling 16 passenger cars at 100 miles per hour. But the protos and the 5500s were all scrapped by 1956. That was the end. Well, except for the new boy, 5500. 5550, wrong number. Now this next locomotive is kind of interesting, if you ask me. I'm sure all of us have seen this picture before. Number 5, the PRRS-2 turbine locomotive. Ah yes, one of these nightmares. The S2 was a one-off locomotive that was numbered 6200, and it was one of 4 American attempts of making a steam turbine locomotive, with one for reverse and one for forwards running. It was built by... oh no. Not again. What the heck? Sorry about that. But they were built by... gosh. Are you serious? It's built by none other than Baldwin by 1944. The S2 was used for other... used for passenger service, and did it do well? No, it did not. It was used between Crestline, Ohio, and Chicago, just like the S1 duplex before it. The S2 ended up being an operational nightmare, however, as it had stable problems relating to the boiler dropping rapidly due to the fact that it used way too much coal. The turbines were using way too much steam. After just 2 years in service, not a very long time for a steam engine, the 6200 were removed off the roster and stored at Crestline until 1952, being completely scrapped for good. So, this locomotive was a really bad locomotive. It wasn't good at all in service. Yet, I still absolutely love this thing. It's just so big and cool. For some reason, I wish it was still around, preserved, not in operational conditions, because that would just be bad. But I love it. And now let's move on to our final locomotive. Yes, I know this was a pretty short video, because I didn't really have much to say in this video, and there's only 6 engines on this list, because didn't really get much information about any of these. Like, at all. So, we're going to move on to number 6. Or number 1, if you're counting down the correct way. We're counting upwards now. Number 6. Number 6. Southern Pacific AC-11. No, these aren't AC-12s. The 4294 is an AC-12. These are more traditional articulated steam engines, but with a cab up front for tunnels on the system. Now, before we get into any more detail, I just want to say I can hardly find any information about this locomotive or about this class, so just good luck for me. 30 AC-11s were built between November 1942 and April 1943. All they were numbered 42, 46, 45. Sorry, wrong number. Through 4274 by, oh my gosh, Baldwin. This is more of the list of locomotives made by Baldwin. Like most cab-forward locomotives. Sorry, I'm struggling. The script is hard to read. The AC-11s could be found in California and its neighboring states. They hauled freight and passenger trains. By 1954, things were not looking good for the AC-11s. When they were withdrawn and by 1958, all of these awesome locomotives were gone. Now, when you look at this, you would usually say, these weren't successful. How could these be successful? They were pretty successful. And, well, to be honest, they were pretty much just Yellowstone engines just permanently running in reverse with the boiler, the smoke box, up against the tender. And I'm still pretty confused. How would they get fuel from the tender into the firebox if it's all the way over here? Did they really need firemen for these? That's what I want to know. Now, hi, it's me here. I know this wasn't a very long video, but I couldn't really find any information about these. So I hope you enjoyed. See you later. Goodbye, and subscribe if you want to see more train stuff on the channel. I'm probably not going to be able to. Because guess what? Now this is running out of space. This is running out of time to record. It's just because of that, what was it? I can't remember what video it was. But, yeah, see you later. Goodbye.